Ye Juna Zugi Juna Lai Janju Bandu Nani Gabsuji Dagi Chunye Kibe Tunangi Yola Benji Sangi Juba Shu Chida Zugi Juna Lai Janju Bandu Nani Gabsuji Dagi Chunye Kibe Tunangi Yola Benji Sangi Juba Shu Chida Zugi Juna Lai Janju Bandu Nani Gabsuji Dagi Chunye Kibe Tunangi Yola Benji Sangi Juba Shu Peki Jushi Medoran, Rera Lishi Gide Kemadi, Sangi Shindo Minde Miwaye, Yogu Nana Shinga Juba Shu, Ururana Menala Kandi Yadaya Imi. I do what is little 20 topics in the manage cutting to the Federal Mama to the national Jiji Mountain at the one that the London for what you doing, but he won the Jiji Mountain at the one the visits of the Please adjust your sitting posture according to the 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. Think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mother in this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not even want a small suffering due to mistakenly engaging with objects of adoptions and objects of abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our minds, sincerely cultivate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings were to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness that are virtues. May they have excellent happiness and its causes. I'll cause them to have excellent happiness and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. What do you do in the city to the town? If you do it, the way you do what I've done, Joe, she did what I've done with the Shin Lamana, she did let us. This is what the immediate ones. Next, we cultivate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtues. May they be free from all suffering and its causes. I will cause them to be free from all suffering and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. 어떤 거지 이제 통된 거거든요. 수비 공부도 있고 수업도 공연하나 보지 다니는 거 지나다가 상주시 공부하는 게 되니까 되다 보니 버스를 야다가 좀 상주를 이제 통주제도 상주시 공부하는 게 좀 더 샤워. 어떻게 생각하는지 참 있어요. Next week, cultivate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free our mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms? I should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. Even though I should take the responsibility, I do not have the ability to place them in the state of perfect complete enlightenment now. Who has such ability? Those perfect complete Buddhas have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. The self and the aggregates neither exist as inherently one nor as inherently different, thus is empty of inherent existence. Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this, I will listen to the holy teaching and practice properly in order to benefit sentient beings. So we are going to begin with verse 155. So this verse, the first two lines of this verse is, there is nothing to be removed, there is not the slightest to be added. So this verse is stated in the Sublime Continuum, is also stated in Ornament for Clear Realization as well. So they explain these two lines. Then we go to extra notes. What is the entity of the Tathāgata essence which is to be realized and meditated upon? The subject, the basic element, the natural purity. So the basic element, which is the natural purity, which is upon which there is not the slightest previously existent two kinds of self, is to be removed, because the two kinds of self have never existed upon this basis. So to further explain these two lines, then we go back to commentary. Okay, so in this naturally pure basic element, there is nothing to be removed. This means that the apprehended objects of the consciousness holding to the true existence of self and phenomena, as well as afflictions existing by their own nature, do not exist as phenomena to be newly removed within this basic element. This is because the apprehended objects of the two types of holding to true existence, as well as afflictions existing by their own nature, have never been experienced as existing from the very beginning. So from here,
So here it says, in terms of translation, so here it says, this means that the apprehended objects of the consciousness holding to the true existence of self and phenomena, it can also be translated as, this means that the referent objects or the determined object. So we have learned this word, determined object, in another subject. So this means that the determined object of the apprehensions as a self of persons and phenomena. So here it talks about three things. So this means that the determined object, probably it's easier to straight away to translate as this. So the determined object of the self-graspings of person and the determined object of the self-graspings of phenomena, as well as afflictions existing inherently. So as well as afflictions existing inherently do not exist as phenomena to be newly removed within this basic element. So here there are three things. This means that the determined object of the self-graspings of person, the determined object of the self-graspings of phenomena, as well as, so this is the third thing, afflictions existing inherently. So the first lines of this verse is, there is nothing to be removed. So explanations up to so these explanations refers to the first line, and they are as mentioned, there are three things. One is the first one is determined object of the self-graspings of person, and the second one is determined object of the self-graspings of phenomena, and the third one is afflictions existing inherently. So these three things refer to the objects of refutation. They are the objects of refutations, and they are grouped by the words self. And then this part, within this basic element, there is nothing to be added in the sense of the two types of no self not being there previously and newly added later. This is because the absence of the two types of self is the nature of the basic element. So first line, it talks about the objects of refutation, then is grouped by the word self. And the second line, there's not the slightest to be added. It refers to the objects of affirmation. So the object that you affirm by way of refuting the objects of refutation. So here it says, within this basic element, there is nothing to be added in the sense of the two types of no self. In other words, the two types of selflessness not being there previously, that was not existed previously, and now newly added later. So there is no such two types of selflessness. They have not existed previously, but they are newly added later. Though there is no such thing to add to this basic element, because the absence of the two types of self is the nature of the basic element. So the absence of the two types of self, the self-graspings of person and the self-graspings of phenomena, the absence of these two self is the nature of the basic element. 양다바 대 강사당 춘이 양다바 강사다 풍보 강사다 풍보 양다바 강사다 풍보랑 이지 두 동안도 비셔럽대 와 신이 주비 동보 풍보도 비셔럽대 네 양다베 따와레스 양다베 따와레스 이제 인비 주세 가지나 니노도 비셔럽레스 니노도 비셔럽은 양다베 따와 인구로와 양다베 따와 So the third line of verse 155 is reality is to be seen. Reality is to be seen as reality. So to explain this verse 155, then we go to extra notes. So here it says the subject, wisdom realizing the emptiness of inherent existence of person and aggregates. Because realizing the reality. So wisdom realizing the reality, which is the emptiness of inherent existence of person and aggregates, is a correct view, because it is the wisdom that realizes the modes of abiding. So this is the explanation for third lines of verse 155. So then to further explain this line, then we go back to the commentary. So he says, the perfect truth is that self and aggregates are empty by nature, and likewise, the perfect view of this, the wisdom realizing no nature, is the view that realizes the true state of being.
That depending number 2 10. That young Tabino was to one, the Zanji to go Maranazo, Juba Simi, not the Juba Simi, not that meaning to be here of Jesus, the big show.
Juba and Simi,
not the Juba Simi, that Chanju Simi Simi, Chanju Simi Simi, then you lose in Tuatella, that Gubachimo, your cousin, Juba Nigale, number 3, your essay. That was the Chanju Simi Masibaina, that Juba Nibal Totu Marwa, Totu. Or did Tomo to us that Chanju Simi Simi, then you lose in Tombi, that and you lose in Tuan Chicken, that on the Rua, you lose in Tuala, that go yes, Rua, Chanju Simi Simi to the then you lose in Ton Guba Casina, the Jibanile, the Totu, Jibani to tell your essay, I think that did what.
The fourth lines of verse 155, he says, upon seeing reality, you are liberated. So to explain this line, we go to extra notes. So here it says, the subject, direct perceptions of reality, the modes of abiding, has a purpose. So the direct perceptions of reality, which is the modes of abiding, has a purpose, because it is for the sake of liberating from the two obscurations. And here, when we say that it has the purpose of liberating from the two obscurations, right? So here, this subject, the direct perceptions of reality, the modes of abiding, is conjoined with the conduct. Is conjoined with the conduct or conjoined with the deeds, which is bodhicitta. So the direct perceptions of reality, the modes of abiding, conjoined with the deed, bodhicitta, has a purpose because it is for the sake of liberating from the two obscurations. So why do we say that it is conjoined with the deeds? Conjoined with deeds, the bodhicitta, is because by the direct perceptions of reality itself, it cannot liberate one from the two obscurations. Only by conjoining it with the deed bodhicitta, then only then one can be free from the two obscurations.
我这个人，我说谈到内陆，接受的他就恰恰全部是辛苦的时候，我说哇，那接受的他就恰恰全部的身体，那样大的，在内陆我说的同样的，那样的恐怕些，那样的恐怕教的，那讲到样大把做的，那上去是恐怕的，那头发如果来真的对哇，我接受的，我说接受的他就恰全部是辛苦的，他就恰恰全部是辛苦的，那身体头呢，那样大的谈我说的同呢，那样的对了恐怕些。
So these direct perceptions of reality must be conjoined with the must be conjoined with the vast method, which is the class of conduct. So only then, after that, then one repeatedly meditating on it, and then one will eventually achieve the state of enlightenment. So through this, one will achieve the state of enlightenment. So the method is the direct perceptions of reality must be conjoined with the vast method, which is the class of conduct, and repeatedly meditating on it. And through this, one will achieve the state of enlightenment. And in the Sublime Continuum, so it teaches or it indicates view, it indicates meditation, it indicates conduct, and it indicates a result as well. So it indicates these four: view, meditation, conduct, and results. So, and among these four, the main object of expression is the view. So the main object of expressions is view, and conduct, though is indicated, but is not clearly indicated. Though it is not clearly indicated, it doesn't mean that it is not indicated at all. Yeah. So these four are indicated in the Sublime Continuum, and the main object of expression is view, and conduct is indicated, but is not indicated clearly. So why do we say that conduct is also indicated in the Sublime Continuum as well? Is because by depending on because in dependence on practicing the Sublime Continuum, one can achieve the state of enlightenment. So therefore, this view is conjoined in Sublime Continuum. The objects of expression in Sublime Continuum, the conduct is also indicated. Then we go to verse 156.
Tabi sektan jula.
And is under the outlines of establishment. And verse 156, it says, the basic element is empty of adventitious defilements, which are separable in character. It is not empty of the unsurpassable qualities, which are of inseparable character. Then we go to extra note. Ini dia tosu jurong de kyola nama yewa mebe chenyi jendo.
Nama yewa mebe nigri yes.
Niga dian nama yeme res.
Nama yewa mebe yores.
So to explain verse 156, then we go to extra notes. It says, adventitious defilements are empty of being intrinsic to the nature of the mind because it is the basic element with defilements. So here it says that adventitious defilements, they are not intrinsic to the nature of the mind. So because it is the basic element with defilements, or it has the characteristics of being a basic element with defilements. And then it continues, the basic element upon which there is not the slightest previously non-existent two kinds of selflessness is to be added, because the two kinds of selflessness have never not existed upon this basis. It means that it is always there. It is always present or exists upon this basis. And the basic element is not empty of the quality of being suitable for the arising of unsurpassed strengths and so forth, because the suitability for the arising of strengths and so forth and the basic element are inseparable. So the basic element is not empty of this quality because this quality, the suitability for the arising of strength and so forth and basic element, they are inseparable. Masimba ina tengu su matengyo. Di zuba tangboro. Dia zawa ngusu matumbe zawa.
Zawa ni mashiba terwa. Ta zawa ma sibitun zawa chidorwa. Zawa ngusu kuibitun zawa chidorwa. Zawa ngusu magibitun zawa nilewa. Wa. Zawa ni tata zawa ngusu magibitun zawa terwa. Wa. Ta tambu zawa chidorwa tena zo tiwalma. Zawa kuwa ni longwa.
So before we go to verse 157, so in 157, there is one argument, or there's one argument or opinion is explicitly mentioned or stated in the verse 157, and there is another argument is not explicitly stated in the verse. So therefore there are two. So there are two arguments. One is explicitly stated and another one is not explicitly stated. So the second one is explicitly stated in verse 157 and the first argument is not explicitly stated. So in there are two responses to these two arguments as well. So first I will talk about the first argument. Yeah, it follows that there is no purpose in teaching the basic element, the Tathāgata essence, to childish ordinary beings onwards, because it is difficult even for the supreme Aryas who abide on the culminated ground without attachment to realize the Tathāgata essence. So this is the first argument. And then we go to verse 157. And here is under the outlines of argument. So this is the second argument, which is stated in the verse, or which is mentioned in the verse. So verse 157, it says, like clouds, dreams, and illusions, all objects of knowledge in every way are said to be empty. Why then do conquerors say here that sentient beings have Buddha essence?
다 컴 대화식이 니보들라 다 자원의 신체 탄지라 상지지 니보 랑치지 요제 송간도 우세 디송바다 대금도 우세 다 잡아들이 와 디송바 대금도 가르 마테비 교세 가르에서나 다 희신도 제 동바라서 맞서와 다 희신도 까바방 콜로 저래 간다 콜로 바바서 와 콜로 바바 희신도 속에 그 시자 탄지 소나로 가르선자들은 시자 탄지 nom바군데 랑지 동바 송간도 최 탄지 랑지 동바 송간도 우세 희신도라 탄지 최 탄지 진다 말한다 주만하시 송간도 우세 랑지 주게 동아서 와 랑지 주게 동아 진다 말한다 주마기는 송간도 그 희신도 제신 앞에 무슨 희신도 막 시스템을 넣어 희신도 제신아 다 손이 나치지 빠지 최 탄지 랑지 내서 송간도 우세 매 송간도 이 뜻이 송아 송자로 와다 니비긴 돌래 대시비 니빈 돌래 간데 송야스나 다 니빈 돌 너들아 신제 탄지지라 상지 최 탄지지 때다버 님보다 랑치지 요새 넣어잔도 요 넣어잔도 때 되는 가와 누구서 다 걷어 봤더래 되는 가와 진도 가와 차는 누구서 다 잡아 제가 되다
저번이봐
저봐 그 저봐라 저봐 니바 들어와 다 저봐 니바 그 가르쳐 놓다고서 대시비 니빈 도다 희신도 니가 떼야라 가와 누구서 보다 가와 가는서 대시비 니빈 돌래 신제나라 신제 탄지지라 대화시비 니보다 랑치스 요 넣어야지 랑치스 요서 너디 코라가 가르 고고스나 랑치스 요서 랑지지 요서 니 고도 다 간다 니 고고 잡아 들어와 랑치스 요서 넣어야지 랑치스 요서 넣어야지 데 랑지지 요서 코라 니 고네 다 딜라 상탄 잡아세요 딜라 상탄 와다 희신도 바바 제통바다 희국가 바바 콜로 들어와 희신도 바바스 콜로 바바스 다저 가서는 수레 나치지 바디 최 탄지 랑지지 마두스 동바이세 송자도스 랑지지 메로자도스 다시 대화시 미니빈 돌아 랑치지 요로자도 다 되는 거 누구도 진짜 잡아들
디시시비 님보에나 대한 콜로
타마로
So to explain this verse 157, we go to extra notes to look at the second argument. He says, why do conquerors say in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra, Buddha essence naturally exists in all sentient beings? it follows that it is inappropriate. So this is opponent's concept or idea, or their assertions, or their argument. So they ask, why do conquerors say in the Tathāgata Essence, which is one of the in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra, Buddha essence naturally exists in all sentient beings. So opponent thinks that it is inappropriate. So because the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which is one of the teaching, belongs to the second turning of the wheel, it says all objects of knowledge are empty of inherent existence in all aspects. And this is because the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra teaches that all are like clouds, dreams, and illusions. So they say, because in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra teaches that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. They are like clouds, dreams, and illusions. So the literal rendering of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra teaches that all phenomena, from form up to the exalted knower of all aspects, are empty of inherent existence. And the Tathāgata Essence Sutra teaches that the treasure-like essence of all Buddha's qualities naturally exists in the continua of all sentient beings. So these two are apprehended as contradictory. So from here up to here is the second argument. So opponent, they say that in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra, Buddha said, Buddha essence or the Sukata essence naturally exists in all sentient beings. So the word naturally exist, they interpret it as inherently exist. And then they say in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Buddha says that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. So therefore, these two are contradictory for the opponent. So because they interpret naturally exist as inherently exist. So inherently, Buddha essence inherent for them, they think Buddha essence inherently exists in all sentient beings is contradictory with the teaching in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which is all phenomena are empty of inherent existence. So based on this wrong interpretations or this wrong idea, then they have this argument.
오예 다가서 다들고라 저거 담보 해드려고 다래데 신슈 신주면라 년바담 양다 민지 양다 출了过去다자 합이 쥐가 간다라 여바 대다 대본 되는 수미세 저러가 지도와 다디마 레데 저거 담보 되게 레데 되게 다디마 쉐이로와.
So in response to the first argument, the answer is stated in verse 158. Then we go back to root. So response, verse 158, it says, this was taught to those who have the 5 faults, having a discouraged mind, looking down on others, apprehensions of the unreal, deprecating the real Dharma, and self-cherishing in order to dispel them.
시파수도 지원의 장대 뜻한 대화기비 님보 템발라 그바 여마서 고쳐봐들와 그바 여마를 매비 주제 가서는 대화기비 님보데 차바미비 다시비 다바사수나님이 상세 파바나지장 지다와니도 또 가와래 슬로서와 이렇게 다들 그바 여와타 다나 레들레오다 다 선제 탄대지라 대화기비 님보 요 지템발라 그바 여래 해서와 다 레다달레오 그바 여데 주제 가서는 세지지라 님보 여바 마토바이나 다 저나 여래 해서다 나와 대화기 님보에 보면은 메신저지라 라와 쥐나 메신저 간다 여보 대다 포인트도 쥐나야래 쥐대다 포인트 체도 다 그봐 됐대마 예 스타 요래 다 쥐나도 맞지는 싶어.
So this is the response to the first argument, right? So then we go to review the first argument. So they say the opponents say it follows that there is no purpose in teaching the basic element, the Sukata essence, to childish ordinary beings onwards, because it is difficult even for the Supreme Aryas who abide on the culminated ground without attachment to realize the Sukata essence. So opponents think that there is no purpose in teaching the basic element to childish ordinary beings, because even the supreme ayahs, they find it difficult to realize as well. So then in response to this first argument, the response is in verse 158. So response 1. So there is a reason for teaching that Tathāgata essence exists in the continuum of all sentient beings, because it was taught for the sake of eliminating the 5 faults in sentient beings, such as not realizing the existence of the essence in the continuum of sentient beings. So there is a reason. So opponents think that there is no purpose in teaching the basic element to childish ordinary beings. Then in response to this, then he says there is a reason for teaching that Tathāgata essence exists in the continuum of all sentient beings, because it is for the sake of eliminating the 5 faults.
다 shum바디 바까야돼 shum바디 빠니 시대다 다 대화시비 님보 여바 땡이나 다 shum바디 찌고 말와 shum바디 파빠니 다 쳇조와 가르치다 대리 산지지 공부 토라서 조와 찌지 산지지 공부 토 니문도 우선 조와 찌 용제라 가서 저 두야돼 세는 조와 찌 shum바디 파 가쇼니 shum바디 파 빠니 시대와 대화시비 님보 땡와데 고바 가르스나 고베 전다 도도 니시오도와 파 가야지도 치 두야지 니레오도와 도와 파 가야 가르스나 흉바도 바꿔와 가야 도와 흉바도 바꿔니 나선지지가 대화식 님고 여가 하마고네 당가서 산지 토투고도 산 나소소 지라 산지 토야가 리지메 여메 하고요 말아 산지지 리요 하고요 말아 하마고서 손자들 산지 토니고 문도 산 나세 흉대로와 세 흉대로와 오다들이 흉바데 파빠야 흉바데 파가도 가와다 나소소로 저 산지 토니야게 또아지와 이 님도 된다 도도 니시고도와 파 가야지도 저 누야지 쇼지 지와와 네 뭐지 또아지야지 와 상지지 공부 토론군도 사 토군도 사 또아지야지 파 흉바데 파가 저 또아지 그거 로 그거 전부 진도야 돼 와, 파 가야 돼 흉바데 파 가야지 흉바데 가 파 흉바데 파 가는 다 상지지 공부 토 누구면 사 근데 흉바데 파 가니 내 상지지 공부 토 토군도 사 내서서 세나 또아지야지 그거 다 된다도 니셔도 되네 디지치와 예 님바데 다신지 멤버 이나 이디자 상지 토 문이도 님바치가 요로와 도지다 와 신지 멤버 이나야 단 디자 상지 토 니고 문도 상한테 다파 님바데 파빠야시도와 다디 님바 쥐도와 님바 쥐도와 데쥐데 파빠니 다 된다 척가르스 저 된다 용지라 가르스는 수도 두자라 척가르 되겠으나 다 신지 이 인데다와 다 상지 토 모토냐도 님바데 빠데 가르 즉 된다 가르고스나 다 땜바 나기 될라 그거지 즉 된다데 파 님바데 파 님바지와도 파 빠는데 다저 땜바기도 그거지 그거지와 저요
其实他们既然对嘛行动的，
그래서 땜바기도 그거지와 두디 레우디 다 콜라 님바지와도 파 가르고와 따다 니니 따다 로도와 누구래 로와 파 님바데 파 빠는데 다 그거지와 쓰레고와 어디시 또 뭐 니로잖아 너무 장스러워 쥐니를 파 가야리가 저 두야리 저린도와 다 대화시 님보 간다 여봐 하고나 니레고 된다 드시고와
Okay, so if sentient beings do not realize that the existence of the essence in the continuum of sentient beings, then there are 5 faults. And the first one is the discouraged mind thinks some sentient beings are because some sentient beings feel discouraged, thinking they are unable to attain Buddhahood. Some sentient beings become discouraged, thinking they are unable to Yeah. So some sentient beings become discouraged, thinking they are unable to attain Buddhahood. So if they do not understand that the Buddha essence or the Buddha lineage exists in their continuum, then some sentient beings become discouraged, thinking that they are unable to attain Buddhahood. So in relation to the first point, so there are two aspects to it. One is to eliminate it. So one aspect which is to be eliminated, and there is another aspect which is to be established. So, and the aspect to be eliminated is the discouraged mind. So the discouraged mind think that they are unable to become Buddha or to attain Buddhahood is to be eliminated. And through eliminating this discouraged mind, then what is to be established is they developed the enthusiasm that they are suitable to attain Buddhahood. So what is to be established, in other words, is what is to be developed. So it means, what is to be developed is the enthusiasm. The enthusiasm suitable to attain Buddhahood is to be developed. So in relation to first point, the discouraged mind thinking that they are unable to attain Buddhahood, what is to be eliminated is this discouraged mind. And having eliminated this discouraged mind, what is to be established is the enthusiasm suitable to attain Buddhahood. So there are two aspects to this. One is to be eliminated, and another aspect is to be established. And the second point is being contemptuous, thinking other lower sentient beings are unable to attain Buddhahood. So this is despising other sentient beings who are unable to attain Buddhahood. So in relation to this point, what is to be eliminated is the content, and the second, and what is to be established is develop respect as you would the teacher or the Buddha. Yeah, as you would the teacher. So what is to be established, in other words, what is to be developed is respect to other sentient beings as you would the teacher.
다디 이제 손바닥 쥐 손바닥 다 쥐 손바닥 양타바 많이 세 대반지 마세 내리고 다 안다 대화시 님보 여바 마tin 바이나 다세 대반 진지가 되죠 그러와 세 대반다 대화시 님보도 여바 하마고나 다세 대반지도 그러와 다쥐 손바닥 다세 대반지 된지대 파파야 체다 쥐 들어와 세 대반지 된지대 파파야 체다 다 숫단다 가르 요약 체르스나 다세 대반 메버도 이시 체야치도 대단히려고도 쥐에 세 대반지 된지대 파야 체 와 파야 체도 대반에서 다 용지 단단 습 가르 두고 그러잖아. 습 가르쳐서 다세 대바를 메바도 비시 지야시도. 저 된다데. 어디에
셈 대만 메바 또 비시.
대바도 또 비시 지야고. 세 대면도 비시 지야시도. 세 대바를 메바도 비시 지야시도. 파 가르 넘질라 파 가르 까는 것은 세 대바를 된지 뽀야시도. 된지 뽀야시도 와. 어디시. 다 소바도 다 시바도 마냐도 거죠. 와. 다 시바도 된다데. 양답이 신지지 주라. 다 님보 여발라. 꾸안데 봐 죄지 양담 지 신지지 되어시 님보 요발 꾼데 요와 꾸안데 봐 뒤주요와
님보 요발라 꾼데로
꾼데 주요와 다 요당 하마고 요와 꾼데 요발라 되니 요발라 꾸안데 봐 죄지 다 되니 죄데 파 까니 내 코라츠 용지 가르나 다 양담에 되어시 신지지가 양담에 되어시 님보 요바도비 요바도에 치 로와 신지지가 님보 요바도비 시지야시도 신지지라 대화시면 님보 여바도 이시지에 체를 주대 주려야 되지 와 이시지에 체를 주대 루파체 가서나 님보 신지지라 대화시면 님보 여바라 꾼데 주연 와 주연데 파사니 된 신지지라 대화시면 님보 여바도 이시지에 체도 어디에 있어 땡왜 고바디어스 다 고바여서 오라 간다 된다데 신지지라 대화시면 님보 땡하라 고바여에서 다 된다 되시고 와
That's all. And the third fault is mind that apprehends the unreal as true. So the unreal. Okay, the mind that apprehensions of the mind. Because I did yang tap di shibati sumbati yang tap ma yimba sim. Yang tap ma yimba se di sim dimba di, right? Oh, okay.
sim dimba denzi de point che da da pyo ci da ma pyo le de du shu ci jiao de point de sim dimba me ba to bi shi che che to wa sim dimba me ba to bi shi che che pa sim dimba ji ba denzi de point che da zu yong je la pe这朋友的啦，是点不能把它联系在一起的，这点吧，也是大不的。
啲sim點把點把點點把有把點把啲咯。Yeah. So in the third fault is apprehensions of the unreal, and the unreal refers to mind being truly existent. So this is the object to be eliminated. Apprehensions of the unreal, mind being truly existent, and then the aspect to be established is the aspects to be established is the exalted wisdom realizing mind as non-truly existent. So what is to be eliminated in relation to third point is the apprehensions of the unreal, mind being truly existent, and what is to be established or developed is the wisdom realizing that mind doesn't exist truly, or the mind realizing the non-truly existence of the exalted wisdom. Sorry, what is to be established or developed is the exalted wisdom realizing that mind doesn't exist truly, or mind is not truly existent. And then in relation to fourth point, fourth fault is denigrating the existence of the real phenomena, the essence in the continua of all sentient beings. So what is being denigrated is the existence of the essence in the continua of sentient beings. So this denigration is to be eliminated. And having eliminated this object, or having eliminated this aspect, then what is to be established or that developed is the wisdom realizing the existence of the essence in the continuum of sentient beings. So fourth point is denigrating the existence of the essence in the continuum of sentient beings. So this is to be eliminated. So having eliminated this fault, then what is to be established or developed is the exalted wisdom realizing the existence of the essence in the continuum of sentient beings. So through up to this fourth point, then through these, then we are able to understand that there is a purpose in teaching a basic element to even childish ordinary sentient beings.
장주지 세토야라 다 바치 징기 요도 면도 지로와 장주 세지라 저라 바치 징기 요도 면도 다 진지 차도 와 다 진지도 요바이나 땅아서 정바도 제도요 말아 정바 승제 단계배 대화자 된대지 이 정바도 제도요 말에 된디지 뭐 도와서서 다 진지 대파 하바차 제 대파
건다 대 정바도 기교 말에
정바 제도 말아 정바 제도 다 정바 제도 대화자 된디 승제 탄지 대화자 된디 정바 제도로 와
단진진
다 진지대 ran 지보로 와 ran 지보 대화다 yin 야와 도와디로 와 신 야와 도와 어 된디게 다 진지적 하바 차비 쥐대 파 빠야다 수가를 두고서는 잠바 지야지 와 잠바 지야디지 해서 당마저 쥐대 봐 쥐가 사고도 와 쥐가 대 파도네 뜻수 비용아 두고도 와 비용아 是吧？他平衡了就是吧，平衡界限，我记得。
And the last one is excessive attachment to self. In other words, is self-cherishing. So what is to be eliminated is this excessive attachment to self, which is self-cherishing. So regarding cherish oneself and discarding others. So this attitude is to be eliminated. And this self-cherishing is the obstacles that prevents the generations of bodhicitta in our continua. So therefore, having eliminated this excessive attachment to self, in other words, self-cherishing, then what is to be established or developed is loving kindness. So you can say that having eliminated these 5 faults, then generates 5 qualities or 5 benefits.
Oh, dear. That that经济好把强制进度觉得，那这点大一两百个老把这经济做大一几百个点个过下了，那可把这有多没多的嘞，大经济的多嘛多呢，大一两百公图个嘛的，大一几百公图个嘛的，大一两百公嘛多完了，那强制升级啊，工资有多没多的，大经济是吧？大一两百几百点嘞，是吧？我的身上。他的对全国上的，当然是健康的怕3年，健康的怕3年的，他本身就长期的了，看多少钱，你不要个定个国外的，那国外哪多啊？健康3年当是平衡啊，定个多啊，平衡啊定，我的天，那得给全部来一下。
So referring to the 5th fault is excessive attachment to self. So in other words, self-cherishing, right? So because of this fault, then we are unable to cultivate or meditate. We are unable to meditate on equalizing oneself with others, and because of these, then we are unable to meditate on exchanging oneself for others. So this self-cherishing is the main obstacles that prevent us from meditating on equalizing and exchanging oneself with others. And if you are unable to meditate on equalizing and exchanging oneself with others, then which is the method to generate bodhicitta, then we will not be able to generate a bodhicitta in our continua. So therefore, this self-cherishing is the main obstacles that prevent us from generating bodhicitta. So having eliminated these 5 faults, then we establish 5 benefits, which is the aspect to be established or developed.
我早听的，刚好是对听的，看到我这边你把这个人的是吧？他这边你把这个人的，养当他们的学习，那么他这个那的，你们来的那么团，尽量说把行动就，你们真的小玩意，人们你们弄就是你们来就那么明显，刚这些工作上说，你们听的学人，这边你把这个人的他的。
이 잠들도 요로 하시라. 이 풍부 교만 뚜바신. 이 차요 말이. 나 저기 자와대 따고 있어.
네. 또 풍부 교만 뚜바신.
지강직 하도. 니가 던주 더니. 이 단도디 풍부 교만 뚜바신.
3번세.
이 말이 이 지강직 체도.
야야 풍부 교만 뚜바신. 야야.
로인베.
야야. 풍부 교만 뚜바신. 야. 풍부 교만 뚜바신. 그치 따라지.
Okay, then we go to verse 159 and 160. And this is the response to the second argument. These verses say, the reality limit is devoid of all composite phenomena. Afflictions, karma, and fruitions are said to be like a cloud, and so on. Afflictions are said to be similar to clouds. Karma is likened to the enjoyments in a dream. The aggregates, which are fruitions of karma and afflictions, are likened to the magical manifestations in an illusion.
랑치스 열라야 두세 데 잡아들이로 랑치스 열라도 당 콜로 바바 희신도라서 뭐 속에 최당지 신제 당지 지가 간다 최간디는 참어 랑시지 매바 소냐 두스 데니까 두스 나딜로 잡아들이와 아딩 뭔가 우지 되시고 다 희자 단지 랑이 똥바이나 신제지나 대화시 님보 매고 말해스 매고 말해스 생각하여 말스라고 양다면 다 대화시 님보는 단지 제가 누구 있나봐 tan지랑 랑이 지금 말해 랑이 지금 말해서 너도 얼마 내 된대더라고. 되는 희신도라 가르스나 내가 힘님도라. 다 최단지 희신도라데 콜로 바바로와 콜로 바바 제동발라서 희신도라 최단지랑이 동바송바다 님비긴도래 신지지라 대와 힘님보 여바송바 되니 뭔가와 맞을 때는 된다 지바를 선거해서 왔다. 된지바 이게 말에 뭔가와 맞을 된지바 송자. 무슨 된지바를 해서 땅가서 너도 내줘야 된다. 이게 말이지. 된지 말이지. 신제지라 대화시비 님보랑 치시 요 세와 대당 로와 신제 무슨 희신 대화시비 님도라 신제 탄지라 대화시비 님보랑 치시 요 손바 대당 다 희신도라 신제 탄지랑 이지 매봐 아래 랑이 주고 동안 레스 손바 된다 지바 해서 다니 대지라 손아래 마든 가완도 말이스라고 다 로와
So we go to extra notes. So then I'll review the second argument. So here, in brief, the second argument is in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra, which is of the third turning of the wheel of Dharma. So it says Buddha essence naturally exists in all sentient beings, and in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, which is of the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, and Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in 8,000 verses and so forth. So they say all objects of knowledge are empty of inherent existence. So for the opponent, opponent think that these two are contradictory. So in response to this second argument, then we go to verse 159 and 60. So he says, it follows that all objects of knowledge, being empty of inherent existence, does not necessarily imply that the Tathāgata essence does not exist in the continua of sentient beings. So the meaning of this first sentence is, all objects of knowledge being empty of inherent existence is not contradictory with the fact that Tathāgata essence is not contradictory with the fact that Tathāgata essence exists naturally in the continua of sentient beings. And this is because the limits of reality, the Tathāgata essence, is devoid of the divisions of the compounded true sufferings and true origin being intrinsic to its nature, in brief. So the second response, in brief, is all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, taught in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, and the Tathāgata essence is present in the continua of all sentient beings, taught in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra. Not only are these two not contradictory, but they are of one meaning.
다 녀모비 사베다 제바데 찐단다와레 에스송야레스로와 녀모가 사베다 제바데 찐단다와레 다스 가르스틴데 페샤오디 데 신지지 세나차 로부드 중 데 신지나기라 마시바레스 나조 찐데 난칼 난칼라 가데 지다 찐바데 난칼 로부드 중바레 마도 난기랑기라 찐바시고 마레스로와 난기랑기라 찐요 마레스 난칼라 베 로부아리 찐데 로부드 중바레스 데나데로와 다 신지지 세나가다 정말에 로부아지 정말에 마도 신지랑기라 휴여 마스터 된다디 시고로와 로부드 중앙에 신지랑기라 마시바레스 정말에로와 다 녀모가 사베다 제바서 이차야데 맞아 시디의 니니가로 다가다 맞아 로부지 주마서 가르스나 시디의 니니가로와 시디 니니가 다 녀모다 녀모 바샤데 제바 사마레로와 바샤데 제바 사마레
지마데 시디의 니니
주말 로바데 맞아 주말 로바데 시디의 니니가 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 주말 로바데
시디에 대한 사베로
사베로와 바샤라 바샤 다 사베 바샤 제바 오 든디스다 다 찐단다와 어디다 되다 되시로와 다 사치지 레데 몰랑기도 농지도 레스 밀랑도 간다 농지도 나와가 나와다 두고 말이스와 로 신지로 제발이 오라 사지 레데 로 신지로 제발송 로 신지로 제발레스 로 신지로 제발송자 다 몰랑기도 몰랑기 롱 제발기가 네바레스 다 롱지도 나와 가기 다 나와다 두 마레스 나와다 두 마레스 되지 다 월데 다 남이 부부도 많아서 말아 여자가 다 남이 부부 들어와 다 남이 부부 들어가서 주마다 주바기가 나시레스
고나 아니 대니바 대 밀람게 롱주 신도 네데로
레데 네데 다 롱지도 나와 가시라 다 나와다 마 두바레스 그로 신지로 제발레스 로고와 다 남이 부부 다 주마다 주바기는 예스와 주마다 주바기가 네그레스 가스나 제바보 다기 제바보 다 여바 나와 가기 제바보 다 여바지 나와 가기 나와 나시 랑지 주바 제바보 여 마레스 와 제바보 다 여바지 나와 가기 랑지 제바보 여 마레스 랑지 주비 다 제바보 여 마레스 내가데 랑지 주비 다 제바보 여 마레스라고 이게 다 된다데 아디마 살기지요
So then in relation to verse 163, so verse 163 says, afflictions are said to be similar to clouds. Karma is likened to the enjoyment. So in the dream, the aggregates which are fruitions of karma and afflictions are likened to the magical manifestations in an illusion. So in relation to verse 163, extra notes, it says, afflictions, contaminated actions, and aggregates of fruition are said to be similar to clouds and so forth, because afflictions as well as seeds. So, and these afflictions as well as seeds, you can say is grouped is condensed into defilements. Because when we talk about defilements can be divided into afflictive obscurations and knowledge obscurations. So here, afflictions together with their seeds or together with their imprints, and these are like clouds because they pervade the minds of sentient beings, arise adventitiously, and are not intrinsic to the nature of mind. So when we talk about clouds, so clouds arise adventitiously, and clouds are not intrinsic to the nature of the space. And so these afflictions together with their seeds, and then they are like clouds because afflictions pervade the minds of sentient beings and they arise adventitiously and are not intrinsic to the nature of the mind. And the second one is the subject, actions. Actions or contaminated actions are like objects of enjoyment in a dream because that which appears as an object of enjoyment does not exist as it appears. So these contaminated actions that arise, they are produced by the erroneous thoughts, and then they are like the objects of enjoyment in a dream, because that which appears as an object of enjoyment does not exist as it appears. So therefore, these actions are said to be similar to objects of enjoyment in a dream. So these contaminated actions are produced by the erroneous thoughts or by wrong thoughts. So therefore, they are said to be similar to objects of enjoyment in a dream. So it appears as an object of enjoyment, but does not exist as it appears. And the third one is aggregates that are the fruitions of afflictions and actions are like illusions and emanations, because it appears that there is an agent, inherently existent agent doesn't exist. So it means that these aggregates are like illusions and emanations, because aggregates appears that there is an agent. So appears that there is an agent means that there is a inherently existent self, which is the agent. So it appears that there is an inherently existent self, the agent, and however, the inherently existent agent does not exist.
Denver Nangares, Denver Nanga, Kumbo the Nang, Denver Nanja, Nanja, they call Denver to Maris, the Denver Matubi, the Jumada Tuba in the Shebacha, was it? That Jumada Tuba in the Sheba, yes, Shiba Chevrolet. Who the Kananga, was a mission to the good and tone, then you can't do. Gee, was a Jeba Majina Denver, some Koran minutes to Tuba in Nanagroa. Money about Nanagroa. So Jeba Majiba in a big switch and tone with your Kari in a bed, Koran minute to one of Nanagroa. What did now already? Then now on Nashi two maris. The Madras and the Tuba the Jumanashi, that Juma the Tuba that when in Hanashi Yomarwa.
In relation to the last point, the aggregates there are the fractions of afflictions and actions are like illusions and emanations, because it appears that there is an agent, inherently existent agent does not exist, right? So, and you can also understand this third point in other way, which is easier to understand. So here it says agents are like, aggregates are like illusions and emanations, because they appears as truly existent, but they are not truly existent. So these aggregates, they are like illusions and emanations because they appears as truly existent, but they are not truly existent. So therefore, aggregates are likened to illusions and emanations. So, and when we look at aggregates such as a body, then if we do not analyze, then the body that we see appears as truly existent, right? It appears as truly existent. So, however, it doesn't exist as it appears. It means that body doesn't exist truly as it appears. It appears as truly existent, but it doesn't exist in that way.
That's one of the Jishit that one that don't have the lane Jeva don't lead Roa. One the other Namshani, Laya, Lami Junior, Nebanga, Ponishan, Higher Niji came by easy, or the issue of Chidua, at the Mati.
We go to verse 161. So this is a short presentation or summary. So verse 161 says, having been expounded beforehand in this way, and again in this Uttara Tantra, it is presented that the basic element exists in order to abandon the five faults.
Tadi kan mazu the dong lao de xi ni bu wa xi ni do la pe chue chang jie zhang yi dong ba nyang ba xia jia yo ne da de la yang pe kan da di xi ni bin do la是吧ni bin do ko lo ta min do la da kan da sin chi ji la kan yo ba ding jia yo res kan yo是ding jia res da go ba de ni ding ga la ding ba la go ba ka yo res go ba ka res na da gong de xi bin ye ba nga da gong yi de da song jia res da de ma dong ji de xie wu do ba
So to explain verse 161, so he says, having thus presented all phenomena are empty of inherent existence in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, then again teaching the basic element exists in the continuum of sentient beings in the sublime or higher continuum has a purpose, because it is for the sake of abandoning the five faults as mentioned above. So it is a summary of what have been presented. So in relation to the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, that it says all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, and in the Tathāgata Essence Sutra, it says that the basic element naturally exists in the continuum of all sentient beings. So there is a purpose for it. There is a purpose for teaching. There is a purpose for teaching. There is a purpose for such teaching, because it is for the sake of abandoning the five faults.
Oh yeah, that is the da. Tang ma zo ma ji shi ni ba ngang ye so ya ma ni ba ngang ji shi wu wa. Ni ba ngang ye so ya de. Ji shi de ma. Da de ne ma te ba da la ni ba yi se ne shun bang ga shi la chang ju se ne jian men ju se.
That's right. So next verse is verse 162. So this is an extensive explanations of the 5 faults. So these following verses are the extensive explanations of the 5 faults. Verse 162, it says, not having heard about this, some, due to the faults of self-contempt, stemming from a discouraged mind, do not generate bodhicitta. And then we go to extra notes. So in the minds of those who become discouraged due to the fault of despising themselves through not having heard about the essence, there is the fault of not generating the minds of enlightenment. So this is the first fault.
신제 탄제라 다 상지지 리요바데 또 그바 그바데 신제 탄지 꼭 단다다 가르나 장주주의 생집이 개리다 단다데 예바데 장주 생지야라 개 빠지 징게들와 장주 생지야라 개다 신제 탄제라 상지지 리요바 또 그바데 대 칸랑이 있나바다바 상지 탄지 누르와 상지 탄지 누르데와
상지 탐지 중롱 상지 탐지 연대
상지 최 탄진 요로 상지 윤대로 다 간다 상지 윤대 탄진 요로 때 랑랑 여바 마태바 상지 탄지 윤대도 로 상지 탄지 윤대 요로 때는 랑랑 여바 마태바 때다게 때다게 상지 토 문이소 언냐니 때 간다 슈바지고 로 토 문이스남 슈바지고 로 상지 탄지 윤대데 로 상지 탄지 윤대 요로 때 랑랑 여바 마태비 요로데 수도라 여바 마태비 때다게 상지 토 문이스 안다 상지 단지 윤딘 요르그 주데 주 도도다 수도로 여바 하마고 바로와 야 하마고네 내 상지 토문이 수나게 내 흉바지 지어고 와 흉바지 바다 냥도 내 달라 니비 네바지 달라 니비 네바지 그래서 와 달라 니비 네바지 아 네바지 내 네바지 내 네바디게 내세 흉바 세 흉바 가지라 내 장주 세는 내 제도고 말이스 장주 세 흉바 내 장주 세 제도고 말이스 내 네바디바 빠니 내 장주 세 제체다 그래서 간다데 와 근데 장주 세제를 개 주어시고 와 장주 세제를 개
Yeah. So this first fault is the discouraged mind, and this is the hindrance or the obstacles to the generations of bodhicitta. So some sentient beings, they have not heard about the existence of the cause suitable for the arisal of Buddha qualities in their own continua. So then they think that they are unable to achieve the state of enlightenment. And having thought in this way, they despise themselves, and then they become their mind become discouraged. And because of this discouraged mind, they are not able to generate bodhicitta. So therefore, we say that this discouraged mind, thinking that they are not able to attain Buddhahood, is the obstacle or hindrance to the generations of bodhicitta. So having eliminated this discouraged mind, and the purpose of eliminating this discouraged mind is to generate bodhicitta. So some people think that they have not heard about the existence of this cause suitable for the arising of all Buddha's qualities in their own continua. So they have not heard about this, that they have this Buddha essence, or they have this cause suitable for the arising of all Buddha qualities in their continua. So they have not heard about this, then they think that they are unable to achieve the state of enlightenment. So then they despise themselves, thinking in this way, and then their mind become discouraged. So because of this discouraged mind, then they are unable to generate bodhicitta. So therefore, we say that this discouraged mind, thinking that they are unable to attain Buddhahood, is the hindrance or obstacles to the generations of bodhicitta. So having eliminated this discouraged mind, the purpose of eliminating this discouraged mind is to generate bodhicitta. Next verse, verse 163, he says, some, by generating bodhicitta, proclaim, I am a supreme bodhisattva, looking down on others who have not generated bodhicitta. To explain this verse, then we go to verse 163. He says, some, having generated the minds of enlightenment, claim I am supreme, and engage in perceiving those who have not generated the minds of enlightenment as lower. So this is the second fault, and this is the hindrance to practice. This is a hindrance to the practice of deeds.
maybe the Chene, that daily maybe the hit the pane, that maybe the hit the pane, this is the Tanji Tendo, this Sanji Tony Pantoni, Sinji Tanji de Sanji Tony Pantoni, this Sinji Tendo Jiba Yosla. But the Sinji Tendo that Jiba Yosa Lewa, Sinji Tendo Jiba Yosa Leba, she had ditched, Sinji Tendo Jiba Yosa Lechi. Kora Dambo, Dija Kana in a Chanji Saint Jibi, this Sinji Tanjela, Sanji Rimato Basanza, Rio Matoba. Rio Matobi, the Dana Sanji told me, Nami Choco, Nami Lombachi, Nami Najachi, the Sinji Tanji say my Jebala, maybe the ship, J, Roa, maybe the ship. That they read the pony, hit the pony, the Sinji Tanji, Sanji Tony Bantoni, the Sinji Jella Jeban Hosma. Was a Jeban Hosma, Gary Loimba, Jeban Hosma gay. We did it.
심진기 토연이나 데 심진 탐지 상기기 고방 통노바
토니바 통노바
더 통네 애니 대한 주반 염수네야로
주반 염수네야로 maybe the point this is just sanji 토니반 토니 this is just 주반 염수 나와디 와 that's all.
Yeah, so in relation to this verse 163, so oneself has already generated the minds of enlightenment, and however, this person doesn't realize that a Buddha lineage exists in the continuum of all sentient beings, and then they claim that I am supreme, I myself able to achieve the state of enlightenment, and then they have this perception. They perceive those sentient beings who have not generated bodhicitta as lower. So, and then having and eliminate this perception is to be eliminated because one needs to abandon this perception, seeing those sentient beings who have not generated bodhicitta as lower, and one should see that all sentient beings have the ability to achieve the state of enlightenment. So therefore, oneself should engage in oneself should engage in the practice of deeds. Verse 164. So this is in relation to the third fault. It says, in the minds of those who do not see the basic element, knowledge of reality does not arise. Therefore, clinging to the incorrect, they do not realize the perfect reality. Tenzin Yuwangi. We go to extra notes for 164. So due to not having generated the consciousness that realizes the real modes of abiding, because apprehends what is unreal, to the existent mind as true. Yeah. Understanding. Yeah. So due to not having generated the consciousness that realizes the real modes of abiding, then apprehend what is unreal. And in this context, it refers to, this unreal refers to truly existent mind as true. So one apprehends what is unreal as true and does not understand the meaning of the real modes of abiding. So this is the third fault. So the third fault refers to, because of, due to not having, so this is the third fault, So because of not having generated the consciousness that realizes the real modes of abiding, then one apprehends what is unreal as true and does not understand the meaning of the real modes of abiding. 당인대로 양다바 또 베탑 양다바 내로 양다바 말에 심진 차소 차소 내무 받으러 신지지 쥐 신지지 쥐 내가 차소여러 신지 쥐 내가 차소 나도 내가 시고로 신지지 쥐 내가 차소도 또 양다바 말에 서고로 신지 쥐 내가 차소 들어 내가 차소도 양다바 말에 신지지 쥐 대런도
신지 준 네바 차서로 오라 준 네바 차서데 양다바 말레스 양다바 말이지와 그 쮸마 로브 이제에서 가서 그와 쮸마 로브 찐지 사도 쮸마 로브와 나서 찐지 사도 쮸마 로브 아니레스와 찐지 사도 쮸마 지금 로브와 지레스 로브와 그 땡데레스나 이거와 찐지 사도 지금 쮸마 로브와 임시데 그 땡데레스 와 찐지 딱 간다 내려서 소지지 아니지를 오러와 돼 와 쮸마 로브 이제 와 찐지 봐 맞아 찐신이요觉得 찐스키지 시고요 근데 찐지 사도 받자 유치 와 찐지 쮸마 로브 아니레스 찐지 코페 로브 찐지 해마도 다 땡도 게 요마스 내가 데려와 아주 매파선에 수야에서 와 이게 되시고로 찐지 쮸마 로브 아니레스 이 비즈에 가서는 뭐 땡데레스 땡데 다 이비시데 땡데레스 다 간다 오다도 땡데 이 비즈에 나더니 다 간다데 와서 양다가 니로도하게 타도게 되시고와 니로도하게 탑게 되시고
And then we go to first two lines of verse 165. So here is missing, so I read. So I copy from the root verse. And the first two lines of verse 165 says, because of being formed and adventitious, the faults of sentient beings are not real. Yeah. Then to explain the first two lines of verse 165, and he says, the subject, the faults of sentient beings, it follows that they are not real because they are fabricated and adventitious faults. And these first two lines of verse 165 indicates the method for realizing the real modes of abiding. So it indicates the method for realizing the reality, the modes of abiding, or you can say that it indicates the method for realizing the real modes of abiding. And so here it says the faults of sentient beings, such as afflictions, and it follows that they are not real. So they are not real because they are fabricated and adventitious. So they are fabricated and adventitious means that these faults, due to conditions, then they are newly fabricated and they are adventitious. So they are adventitious means that they are not there permanent. They are not there permanently, and they can be eliminated. So that is what adventitious means as well. So adventitious means that they are not permanent, and they can be eliminated. So because they are fabricated and adventitious, and they are fabricated and adventitious because they are dependent arising. So then the reasoning follows. So they are fabricated and adventitious because they are dependent arising. So since here it indicates dependent arising, or indicates the reasonings of dependent arising, so therefore this is the method for realizing the modes of abiding.
양다 니데 다음에 봐 인지상시 다와 인세와 인지상시 다와 다 대념도 말해와 그것도 탑에 다는데 양 다바는 예바데 다음에 봐 인바다 다 인지 니보랑 이제 주민이 다바 예세 어디 된대들이와 다 간다 예 양다고 인지들랑 이제 다바레스 다랑 이제 다바니 비제데 예바데랑 이제 주민 다음에 바레스 다 되게 간디잖아 인지들와 그 간디잖아 제가 찍어래 와
고다. The dame baris.
dan amude ma de na chishina yanta bana nyepa de dame baris yanta ba nyepa de dame baris inde ni bora ni chimi ta baris khatu ba danda juna yanta be yunde de rangi je ta baris wa yanta be yunde de rangi je ta baris rangi ta ba de nyepa de rangi je chimi dame baris
yanta be yunde de rangshin ta baris
wa ta yanta be yunde de rangi ta baris wa ta kanda de ma ji de ba 여신이 그런 거 같아 가지고 칸디 신이 그런 거 봐. 칸디 신이 그런 양답이 있는데 랑이 제슈가 요 말했으라고 봐. 랑이 제슈가 요 말했어. 랑이 답아했어. 랑이 답아래. 때 네바데 랑이 주비 다음에 봐. 네바 거라 랑이 주비 다음에 봐래. 네바 거라 로고 아래 로고 왔습니다. 랑이 주고 말했어. 랑이 주고 말했을 때 되나 되시고 봐. nyeba de luwa re de rangi chu ma res rangi ma chu de da ma bare rangi chu da ma bare res.
Then next two lines of verse 165. It says, the perfect qualities of the basic element are pure in their nature because the faults are selfless. So in relation to these next two lines of verse 165, it says, it follows that faults are selfless in reality because the quality, the essence, is naturally pure of defilements. So here, faults are selfless in reality. So you can are selfless in reality. So faults are selfless. Yeah. So why do we say that faults are selfless? Or they are not inherent existence? Is because they are adventitious. So we say that these faults are adventitious, right? So because these faults are adventitious, therefore they are not inherently existent. So in other words, they lack inherent existence. They lack inherent existence because of the reason that they are adventitious. And because the quality, because the quality, the essence is naturally pure of defilements, then the quality is the perfect quality, which refers to the basic element, the Tathāgata essence, and is naturally pure. So this is a lines of reasoning by itself, and these faults are selfless in reality. Then there is a lines of reasoning by itself, and then the quality, the essence is naturally pure of defilements. Then there is a line of reasoning by itself as well. So faults are selfless faults are adventitious. Therefore, it is selfless in reality, or therefore it is not. Therefore, it lacks inherent existence. And then the quality, the perfect quality, which is the Tathāgata essence, is naturally pure of defilements. Yeah. Jadi kata tiang di sisi begini buat tiang rangsi thaba di cipor wa di misi gi kumzen di yo marwa.
Da rangi le chuma luwa shu ma chuma
yeah. So then, because the perfect quality, which is the Tathāgata essence, is naturally pure of defilements, because defilements are not intrinsic to the nature, to its nature.
da wo zo de ma zo shiba de mi ba shiba de do da yang da ni bi min ji ji yang da yen de kun de ba se si ni do da de ma shu yo.
Then we go to verse 166. First two lines of 166, they say, those who cling to unreal faults and deprecate true qualities.
Da nimbo ma te be sinje de wa nimbo ma te be sinje de yang da be yun de sin ni rangi tomba la kuban de wa les kunde chu de yang da ba ma yi be ne ba rangi ji chu ban zimba les da jun se kunde je gwa bi jun se ga na yang da ba ma yi be ne ba rangi ji chu ban zimba song sa da kan da ni lu de ha ku yo ma wa kunde yang da be yun de sin ni rangi tomba la kuban de wa les ro kunde de ju de kunde chu be jun se ga na yang da ba ma yi be ne ba rangi ji chu ba zinderes, nibarangi chuban zinderes. Da rangi chuban zinde sonza, da rangi tomba de mantonga sonza, de mashiwa sonza, de kunde chanwa, hinguyo marwa. Nibo de ishi nibo de teyo mare, ma teba sonza, rangi tomba la, sheyo ma mashiwa sonza, da rangi tomba la kuban deores. Kuban de jizede, de ko rangi chubi ngani, neyerswa, rangi chuba, da kala, antala sonze na uerwa, antala hunde, da de derwa.
So they explain first two lines of verse 166. It says, the sentient beings who have not heard about the essence denigrate the perfect quality, which is the emptiness of inherent existence of the mind, because they apprehend unreal faults as inherently established. So why do sentient beings who have not heard about the essence denigrate the perfect quality? which is the emptiness of inherent existence of the mind, because they apprehend what is unreal. They apprehend the unreal thoughts as inherently established. So this is the reason why they denigrates the perfect quality, which is the emptiness of inherent existence of the mind. So therefore, those sentient beings who have not heard about the essence, and then they denigrate the perfect quality because they apprehend what is unreal as inherently established. And then they fall into the extremes of eternalism. And next two lines of verse 166, they say, do not attain the love that sees themselves and sentient beings as equal. Then we go to extra notes. So some of lower intelligence, having seen that oneself and sentient beings are equal in attaining Buddhahood, do not attain love that observes sentient beings because they are affected by the five faults. So those of lower intelligence, they do not attain love. They do not attain love because they are affected by the five faults. Yeah, so we will stop here. And so we are almost finishing the first chapter of the Sublime Continuum. So even though we did not go through extensively, however, I have tried my best to explain the meaning of this verse, explain their meaning. So this Sublime Continuum is also a very important text. So so I will prepare a quiz, this Tathāgata Essence quiz later. So because now we are a bit occupied, so I will prepare it later. So I hope that you all have a good understanding of this first chapter of the Sublime Continuum. So we have left two verses left that we will cover in next class. So we will cover the remaining two verses in coming class, and then together with question and answer.
Today, Geshe-la, pertaining to these verses. We have 9 minutes. Geshe-la, can I ask a question on these few verses?
Yeah, so yeah, if you ask now, then next class, since it's mainly for a question and answer, then you also need to ask more questions.
Well, I won't be around, Geshe-la. I'm going to Australia. Geshe-la, Geshe-la said just earlier that this Tantra explicitly talk about emptiness, but implicitly talk about method, which is the bodhicitta aspect. But in these last few verses, say that the purpose of explaining basic element and out of the five faults and the five qualities, three of them are talking about bodhicitta actually. So I'm just wondering, Geshe-la can clarify my doubt. Why in the last part suddenly parts appear, but in the verses earlier is implicit.
Yang Geshe-la yang di tawa jueba gomba tang devo di shigi orwa ini tiang gyulama ina tiang tawa di zo di tengi ores jueba ina tiang ngusu di sewa di tengi omarwa ini yang di sewa tengi omare ini tanda gun nyeba nga se de tang di penyu nga se de yang di nang ne sum yang jangchu isen tang dewa yoresa ini 가르치 ne di ngungi 지지 된조 장주 있음 야나디 쥐바디 된조디 마시바 인디 홉디 칼라 타마타마디 양디 쥐바디 양 디양 망보디 시요에서
그렇지.
다 응응응 라인에 야디 쥐바기 콜라 장주 있음이 콜라 디 시기요 말이 이게 양 니바 나기 나로라 숨양 장주 있음다 디와 요레사 이네 야디 di juba diang ngusu shigi orwa dendin kaza di kaza diang sewa diang tingi orwa
ndi jila nga zo jeba sawa tense lo wa mare se nga zo jeba jila
karijini diang juba
jeba ma de lo wa mare nga di ka de zo de nga zo di tengo re se nga zo tawa shi wo re se yo ji ni mo tawa shi wo re sanji ji ri de shi wo so nga zo jula ma le u tambo ke sanji ji ri se wa de shi wo sanji ji ri se wa so de shi wo 맞아 저거 마셔봐 말이야. 저거 저거 시비요 말이야. 디기잖아. 예스. 와. 나 네버도 저 장주기 세다 잠깐 이제 들었다만 나도 계속 고 말인데 가와이나 되는 거지. 뭐 땡아야지. 와.
공이 디와디안 가리지니한테 타마타마 레우 당복이 타마타마 대한테 쥐어봐 대한 시기요래.
나 저번 고니만 로사래. 저번 고니만 장도 가와이나 시디요래서. 당국에서 가서 장다데 막 미스카네 니做些말은 신고니만 로사래. 시야.
고니양 시기요래.
시다.
Yeah, so we say this Sublime Continuum. So it mainly explain the Buddha lineage, and it also explain conduct as well. So it doesn't mean that it doesn't explain conduct. It's just that they are not clearly or explicitly or mainly expressed in the Sublime Continuum. And when you say that, why is suddenly discussed? Here this part at the end of this first chapter. So if you're talking about this, the discussions of conduct here at the end of the first chapter, in fact, conduct is also discussed from the beginning as well. It's just that they are not explicitly discussed.
고니만 담보는 나베 레부 군조소도 마시오데 레부 군조소지 도시 탑 맞아 장주도 마시오디 레부 군조도 도시 장주 지역이 된령도 맞아 쥐어봐도 시사
토지기 탑
레부 군조소 도시 고니만 레부 군조소 대 도시 탑 장주 지역이 된데 장주령도 배 장주그 대령도 맞아 쥐어봐도 시사랬어 근데 레부 군조소 토발라 장주 컴데 시오래 레부 컴데 시오래 컴데 시오디 컴데라 도신지를 인념도 시험을했어. 쭉 컴들라 도신지 저번에 시험을했어. 저번에 마시바이나 쭉 컴들이 도신지 저번에나 레부 군주서 더 돼야 버려요 말했어. 이건 시사했어. 등이 당이 너희 뭔가 중앙에서 시고요 말했어. 시고요 말했어. 이 시고를 해. 땡구를 해. 엔다디.
So why do I say that the conduct has been explained from the very beginning is because at the very beginning we talk about three resultant three refuges, and then we talk about the method to attain it, and then we talk about enlightenment also, right? So in this context, conduct has already been explained, has already been expressed here. Because when we talk about the cause, which is the basic element, and then when we talk about the basic element, then we also talks about that which conjoins with it, which is the conduct. If this cause, the basic element, is not conjoined with conduct, then one will not be able to attain the resultant three refuges. So that is why I say that conduct has been explained from the very beginning. It's just that they are not explicitly or mainly expressed. And also when we talk about first ground, and then we talk about 7 impure grounds, and we also talk about three pure grounds, and then in relation to these grounds, then they are respective object to be abandoned, right? And then they are respective objects to be abandoned, and these respective objects to be abandoned cannot be abandoned if the path is not conjoined with the conduct. So, and the Bodhisattva ground, from the first ground up to the 10th ground, and we talk about their respective objects of obscurations to be abandoned, and the way to abandon these obscurations as well. And they are abandoned by training their minds in the basic element. And when we talk about practicing or training their minds in the basic element, then it has already included the conduct. And without the elements of conduct, one will not be able to abandon those obscurations. Yeah, so and also from the first ground up to the 10th ground, and then we talk about the way to abandon the 9 defilements. So when we are talking about these, conduct is already included, and already included is just that they are not especially discussed. Yeah, so as with your questions, then we are right at 10 o'clock. Yeah. So we'll stop here. So Geshe said, with your questions, and we stopped at 10 o'clock sharp. So then we conclude with dedication. We conclude with dedications. We dedicate these roots of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha Dharma, illustrated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long, to have excellent health. May all their enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabje Lama Zopa Rinpoche. May we meet the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche as soon as possible, and may Rinpoche's holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to world peace. May excellent happiness prevail throughout the world. May wars, conflicts, disaster, natural disaster, pandemic, diseases be pacified immediately. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to those who pass away, especially those who pass away because of these negative conditions. May all their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be pacified immediately and quickly achieve the state of enlightenment.
도도 진행
Sabe ke wa de ten dang do wa kun la kan pen dang che ba che sun lo san da ma yi ten be yin bo rin do se che sho chang chu sen jo rin bo che ma che pa nang che kyu chi che pa nyang ma me ma yang
오늘
kon do me wa sho jang be pa ye che dang chen ba dang kun do sam bo de yang de yin de de da kun ke che so da lo che ke wa de da dang che ra tu ngo da wa rin bo che ma che pa nang che kyu chi che pa nyang ma me ma yang kon do me wa sho rin ge da wa rin bo che ma che pa nang che kyu chi namba me ma yang Gode kondo me wa sho, ni che son do jo be la chi che se se kan che ten de gen cha na be mo ten zing ga zo la so wa de so shin de lu do sho, kan de pen de ma lu ba kan le jong e sam be shi no kan de su me ten zing ga zo la so wa de so tu she lu do sho, de ma ke se ni ran zo lo sang ke wa ya se kyu ba je ram ja chi ge kya yo ma lu be ten de me ba du be ke le so yo so zo be tu te rin bo chi shi dang du be sing jing be wa la, bi su se me go ja jen su me je tu la ma so wa de pen de ma lu jong we go je mo je we ten na ma ge do wa yu ten la chi tu tsen ba ze be
lo bri chiwa gin de yin ha ba
we na chi zo
ja de chin
ya dang che se na ji tu ke la bo je
le me de me yang do sa be
ke san de je be don yu xie shu wa yi ra we ko we xin ban de pen na de wa ma lu jong we ne
chiri
de wa ten zing ga zo yi sha be si de ba tu thank you